Клянусь, права и свободы. Клянусь при
Filmmaker Oliver Stone says Americans do not have a full picture of Russian President Vladimir Putin. He aims to change that with a new project.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process.
The complex relationship between Russian President Vladimir Putin and successive U.S. presidents tells a compelling story of shifting alliances, personal chemistry, and deep-seated tensions. This intricate saga, unfolding over 2 decades, reflects the broader tumultuous evolution of global politics in the post-Cold War era. From the early optimism of the Clinton administration, which saw Putin as a potential partner in reshaping a new world order, to the disillusionment of the Bush years marked by the stark realities of geopolitical rivalry, the journey has been anything but straightforward. The Obama administration's ill-fated reset of relations, Trump's controversial personal admiration, juxtaposed with institutional opposition, and Biden's principled stance amid escalating conflicts each paint a vivid portrait of a relationship fraught with hope, disillusionment, and enduring complexity. This detailed exploration delves into the personal and political intricacies of these interactions, offering a window into how the U.S. Russia relations have evolved and the profound impact of these dynamics on global diplomacy.
I understand you come this time to speak before the international conference here in Houston.
Yeah, надеюсь, видите почаще.
And I hope we'll see each other more frequently.
У вас тут
Have you come to Moscow at the right time?
у вас там полиция разгулялась, людей все равно.
I understand that back home the police are getting out of the way, putting people in prison.
I'm very encouraged by this new agreement on nuclear weapons.
Я очень сильно чувствую про соглашение оружия.
And I think President Medvedev had a good trip in the U.S., which was very good. We liked it when he went to Silicon Valley. It was very nice.
As Vladimir Putin took office in 2000, the world was still glowing with the hopeful spirit of the Cold War's end.
For over 40 years, the United States led the West in the struggle against communism and the threat it posed to our most precious values. This struggle shaped the lives of all Americans. It forced all nations to live under the specter of nuclear destruction. That confrontation is now over. The nuclear threat, while far from gone, is receding. Eastern Europe is free. The Soviet Union itself is no more.
Bill Clinton, nearing the end of his presidency, approached Putin with a mixture of cautious optimism and strategic ambition. Clinton saw Putin not just as a leader of a struggling Russia, but as a potential ally who could help steer the country towards stability and integration into the global community. Their early interactions were marked by a vision of collaboration, with Clinton advocating for Russia's inclusion in the World Trade Organization and the G8, reflecting a shared hope for a future of partnership and mutual respect. However, this initial optimism was soon overshadowed by a series of contentious issues. NATO's eastward expansion, perceived by Russia as a breach of earlier promises, and the 1999 NATO bombing of Yugoslavia during the Kosovo crisis left Russia feeling marginalized and betrayed.
Our mission is clear: to demonstrate the seriousness of NATO's purpose so that the Serbian leaders understand the imperative of reversing course, to deter an even bloodier offensive against innocent civilians in Kosovo, and if necessary, to seriously damage the Serbian military's capacity to harm the people of Kosovo. In short, if President Milosevic will not make peace, we will limit his ability to make war.
These early seeds of discord, fueled by a sense of betrayal and unfulfilled promises, set the stage for the complex and often confrontational dynamics that would define the U.S. Russia relations in the years to come. When George W. Bush assumed office, he brought with him a blend of Texas charm and a deeply personal approach to diplomacy. His first encounter with Putin in 2000, and one was imbued with an almost naive optimism. Bush famously claimed he had looked into Putin's eyes and seen his soul.
Can we trust Russia? I'm not going to answer to that. I could ask the very same question.
I'll answer the question. I looked the man in the eye. I found it to be very straightforward and trustworthy. We had a very good dialogue. I was able to get a sense of his soul. He's a man deeply committed to his country and the best interests of his country. And I appreciated so very much the frank dialogue. There was no kind of diplomatic chit-chat trying to throw each other off balance. There was a straightforward dialogue, and that's the beginning of a very constructive relationship. I wouldn't have invited him to my ranch if I didn't trust him. These will be fruitful discussions, and I believe what people will see is a strategy, a joint strategy. The President's a history major, and so am I. And we remember the old history. It's time to write new history in a positive and constructive way.
A declaration that hinted at a potential for a deep and lasting friendship. This initial rapport, however, was quickly tested by the seismic shifts brought about by the 9/11 attacks. Russia's initial support for the U.S. in the war on terror provided a fleeting moment of common cause. Yet this period of apparent alignment was short-lived. The U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, vehemently opposed by Russia, marked the beginning of a rift.
I've said that this US strike reminds me strongly of events in Iraq in 2003 when US representatives at the UN Security Council showed alleged chemical weapons found in Iraq. A military campaign was then launched in Iraq and it resulted in the destruction of the country, the growth of the terrorist threat and the emergence of the Islamic State.
The 2008 war in Georgia was another pivotal moment that strained ties further, as Russia's aggressive military action in Georgia was a clear challenge to U.S. influence and a stark reminder of the strategic rivalry that lurked beneath the surface. The once promising connection between Bush and Putin deteriorated into a sobering realization of the deep-seated and enduring nature of their rivalry. Barack Obama's presidency began with an ambitious attempt to reset relations with Russia, symbolized by the well-publicized reset button presented by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
This important meeting and our time here together, I wanted to present you with a little gift which represents what President Obama and Vice President Biden and I have been saying, and that is, we want to reset our relationship. And
let's do it together.
So we will do it together, okay?
This gesture was intended to signal a fresh start and the potential for a new chapter in the U.S. Russia relations.
Do you think we got it?
You did it wrong.
I got it.
Indeed, I firmly believe that America's most significant national security interests and priorities could be advanced most effectively through cooperation, not an adversarial relationship with Russia. That's why I committed to resetting the relationship between our two nations, to deepen Russia's integration into the global economy.
Early successes, such as the negotiation of the new Istarid Treaty aimed at reducing nuclear arsenals and joint efforts to impose sanctions on Iran, offered hope for a more cooperative relationship.
We are here to discuss the importance of ratifying the START Treaty. And let me be clear, it is in the national security imperative, it is a national security imperative that the United States ratify the new START Treaty this year. There is no higher national security priority for the lame duck session of Congress. The stakes for American national security are clear, and they are high. The new START Treaty responsibly reduces the number of nuclear weapons and launchers that the United States and Russia deploy while fully maintaining America's nuclear deterrent. If we ratify this treaty, we're going to have a verification regime in place to track Russia's strategic nuclear weapons, including U.S. inspectors on the ground.
Yet this hopeful beginning was marred by unfolding events that would unravel the initial optimism. Putin's return to the Russian presidency in 2012 marked a dramatic shift, with a return to more authoritarian practices and a crackdown on domestic dissent, according to the critics. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the ensuing conflict in eastern Ukraine were bold assertions of Russian power that defied international norms and deepened the divide between the U.S. and Russia. The Obama administration, which had hoped to build a partnership, found itself confronting an assertive and increasingly defiant Russia, and the reset that once promised so much became a symbol of missed opportunities and unfulfilled hopes. Donald Trump's presidency introduced an unprecedented twist to the U.S. Russia relations, marked by a strikingly personal and controversial approach.
Putin is saying, oh, they're going to sanction me. They've sanctioned me for the last 25 years. You mean I can take over a whole country and they're going to sanction me? You mean they're not going to blow us to pieces, at least psychologically? The problem is not that Putin is smart, which of course he's smart, but the real problem is that our leaders are dumb.
Trump's overt admiration for Putin and his frequent praise created a stark contrast with the prevailing skepticism and concern in Washington. This personal affinity, however, existed alongside a backdrop of deep institutional mistrust and ongoing geopolitical friction. Despite Trump's conciliatory rhetoric, his administration continued and even expanded sanctions against Russia, reflecting the entrenched opposition within U.S. institutions. The 2018 Helsinki summit, where Trump's apparent willingness to side with Putin over his own intelligence agencies, stirred controversy and highlighted the paradoxes of his presidency.
All I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer.
For 9 months.
The Mueller investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election further complicated the relationship, casting a shadow over Trump's tenure and creating an atmosphere of suspicion and intrigue. The Trump era was characterized by a jarring juxtaposition of personal overtures of friendship and deep-seated institutional and legislative opposition, embodying a complex and often contradictory chapter in the story of the U.S. Russia relations. Joe Biden's approach to Russia marked a return to a more traditional and principled stance, characterized by a blend of strategic firmness and moral clarity. A seasoned foreign policy veteran, Biden confronted Russia with a directness that contrasted sharply with his predecessors.
Putin has the gall to say he's denazifying Ukraine. It's a lie. It's just cynical. He knows that. And it's also obscene. President Zelensky was democratically elected. He's Jewish. His father's family was wiped out in the Nazi Holocaust. And Putin has the audacity, like all our autocrats before him, to believe that might will make right. There is simply no justification or provocation for Russia's choice of war. It's an example of one of the oldest human impulses, using brute force and disinformation to satisfy a craving for absolute power and control.
His administration's emphasis on human rights, democratic values, and the rule of law represented a return to a principled diplomacy that sought to hold Russia accountable for its actions. Biden's stark labeling of Putin as a killer and the imposition of new sanctions underscored a commitment to confronting Russia's aggressive behavior. The outbreak of full-scale conflict in Ukraine in 2022 saw the U.S. stepping up with significant military aid to Ukraine and reinforcing NATO's eastern defenses.
Vladimir Putin recognized two regions of Ukraine as independent states. And he bizarrely asserted that these regions are no longer part of Ukraine and their sovereign territory.
Biden's approach combined a firm response to Russian aggression with a willingness to engage in dialogue, as demonstrated by the 2021 Geneva summit, where discussions on nuclear arms control and cybersecurity were held. The Biden administration's approach showed a steadfast resolve to tackle the challenges posed by Russia, all while grappling with the intricate realities of global diplomacy. Biden's team worked tirelessly to address what they called Russia's aggressive actions, and thus balancing firm responses with thoughtful engagement. The trajectory of the U.S. Russia relations under Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden is a testament to the enduring complexity and volatility of global diplomacy. Each administration faced its own set of challenges, marked by a blend of cooperation and confrontation that defined their interactions with Putin. Putin's adept navigation of these relationships, driven by Russia's strategic interests and a projection of strength, underscores the persistent and multifaceted nature of the U.S.-Russia dynamics. The legacy of these interactions is a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between hope and reality in international diplomacy.